Welcome back to Peerless Martial God. Enjoy. Chapter 15. Battle in the Life or Death Arena, Part 3. Boom. Jing Wuhen circled around and attacked the defenseless Han Man from behind. He didn't intend to let him get even the smallest chance to rest. He punched Han Man repeatedly as the powder had blinded him. The sound of Han Man's bones cracking in a loud spine-chilling shriek filled the air. However, this was drowned out by the laughing of Jing Wuhen, who was taking joy in every last moment of Han Man's suffering. That guy really is shameless. He must have planned to use that powder from the start. How despicable. There were more and more people gathering around the life or death arena. Some of them were talking to other disciples, all had their eyes fixated on the fight. In the life or death arena there is no rules on fighting fairly, you can resort to whichever method needed to win, said Jing Hao. Nonetheless, Lin Feng acted as if he hadn't heard that remark and moved towards the arena. Suddenly Jing Hao blocked the way. There would be no saving Han Man, as his punishment was to be beaten to death in front of everyone. Let me pass, said Lin Feng. 8th Chi layer, and you still dare to come and challenge me? I am avenging my dead brother Jing Feng. This has nothing to do with you, unless you want to get involved in my personal grudge, threatened Jing Hao, not really paying much attention. Lin Feng. Get involved? You do not want me, the person who killed your brother, to get involved? I beheaded him as he begged for the mercy he would not have shown others. Now let Han Man come down off the stage and let me replace him. If I don't go into the life or death arena willingly, how will you be able to avenge your pathetic little brother? Lin Feng said. Jing Hao was 6th in the disciple rankings. Lin Feng had monstrous talent, but could he be compared to those in the top rankings? It was not possible. Han Man had a face filled with protest when he heard what Lin Feng had said, but his voice was too weak to protest. Jing Hao couldn't believe what he had heard, and slowly wrath filled his eyes. He quickly shouted, Jing Wuhen, stop attacking. When Jing Wuhen heard Jing Hao, he stopped fighting immediately and stood looking at Jing Hao, waiting for his next order. You can come over and replace Han Man if you dare, Jing Hao said, pointing at Lin Feng with murderous intentions in his eyes. He didn't need to speak such useless words. Lin Feng jumped into the arena in a flash. He could see that Han Man's face was drenched with blood and his body was mangled. Bones could be seen piercing out from his skin, many fingers were not in the correct position, and his breathing was heavy with a wheeze. Lin Feng wiped the blood covering Han Man's eyes, as at this point he could not move his arms, he was barely breathing. This reminded Lin Feng of how he had been left here before in the same condition. Han Man, can you make it out of the arena alone? Lin Feng asked Han Man. No problem, I am not dead, please just go and avenge me, said Han Man, grinning, enduring the intense pain all over his body. Don't worry. Lin Feng felt a pain in his chest when he saw Han Man smile. That guy was really stubborn. It was clear he did not have the strength to go alone. He helped Han Man stand up and, using Lin Feng as a crutch to lean upon, started moving to the edge of the arena. Lin Feng stopped upon hearing Jing Hao's voice. Jing Wuhen, you know what to do. I understand, I have to kill them both, replied Jing Wuhen. Jing Hao, who was satisfied with the answer, nodded in agreement. In the life or death arena, you are not the ones who get to decide your own life or even your friend's life. Do you want to replace him? No problem, you will die first instead of him, and then he will die, Jing Hao said carefree while watching Lin Feng, who had continued moving Han Man to the edge of the arena. Is that so? Said Lin Feng with a grin covering his face, letting Han Man rest on the edge of the arena. At that moment, Jing Wuhen was charging towards them, surrounded by a powerful fire chi. Firebomb, die together, shouted Jing Wuhen. A ball made of flames suddenly appeared in his hand, emitting a strong scorching heat which seemed to overwhelm the very air itself. Get lost, said Lin Feng while unsheathing his long sword. A roar of thunder spread throughout the entire arena. Immediately the flames were enveloped by the thunderous roars, but the sword didn't decrease its momentum and shot towards Jing Wuhen, who was still running forward, leaving a small hole in his chest where the sword had pierced directly through him. Drops of blood were falling from the wound in Jing Wuhen's chest. Lin Feng was looking at Jing Wuhen with powerful killing intent. I'm going to die, said Lin Feng while laughing. He thrust out his sword again. There were roars of thunder all around. Jing Wuhen tried to run and avoid the attack, but it was too sudden for him to react. He was hit by the shockwave of the sword, which made his body fly up into the air before heavily falling back down onto the stone floor. Jing Wuhen couldn't avoid a single hit. Every time he got to his feet he was sent flying into the air and crashed heavily onto the rocks beneath. Roaring thunder skill. The thunderous roars that come from his sword. He's able to use the roaring thunder skill and create a thunderous roar each strike. Which genius of our sect is that? People in the crowd couldn't hold back their excitement, but they couldn't recognize Lin Feng as he was wearing a mask. If they could, many would pinch themselves to wake from the illusion. Jing Hao was seized with horror. His face looked hideous as he had been humiliated. Jing Wuhen surprisingly couldn't fight Lin Feng. Killing him seemed to be an impossible mission. Jing Wuhen could only attempt to escape and run to Jing Hao, who would protect him. Jing Wuhen saw Lin Feng's long sword getting closer. He was lying on his stomach, seemingly unable to get to his feet, but he didn't stop crawling in the opposite direction of Lin Feng unconsciously. His face was filled with terror and despair. I'm not fighting anymore, I give up, you have won. I have won? Lin Feng looked like he had heard the best joke in the world. Zhang Wei had nearly killed Han Man. If Zhang Wei had been strong enough, then he would have killed Lin Feng and Han Man, but now he was declaring himself defeated. Admitting defeat, was that really enough after everything he had done? Die! Shouted Zhang Wei suddenly. A white powder flew towards Lin Feng. Meanwhile, Zhang Wei pounced towards the edge of the arena. Luckily Lin Feng had not let his guard down even for a second. Jing Hao, protect me, quickly, said Zhang Wei while dashing in Jing Hao's direction. Lin Feng was following behind him like a shadow. Something heavy had fallen onto the ground outside of the arena boundary with a thump. It was actually Zhang Wei's body which had fallen down from the rocky arena platform onto the ground beneath, but he was smiling because he had landed in front of Jing Hao and, even more importantly, outside of the arena. Jing Hao couldn't come in the arena to intervene as fights in the life or death arena were duels. If he had intervened he would lose face. However, after having moved to the boundary area, there was no restriction with him taking action here. Too bad you didn't kill me in the life or death arena, said Zhang Wei while looking mockingly at Lin Feng, who was still on the edge of life or death arena. The life or death arena was a battle arena where one's life was at stake. Zhang Wei had stepped out of the arena. If Zhang Wei was still in the stormy gorge, Lin Feng could still chase and secretly kill him, but because Jing Hao was there, he wouldn't act rashly. Is that so? When he has stepped out of the life or death arena, his life will no longer be in my hands but in the hands of the gods. Killing him is against the rules? After saying this, Lin Feng created powerful waves using his 9 heavy waves technique and shot them in Jing Hao's direction. Jing Hao had a malicious smile on his face. The 9 heavy waves smashed into his palm, not even leaving a mark. Roaring Thunder. Lin Feng threw himself towards Jing Hao, brandishing his sword using his Roaring Thunder skill. Jing Hao unsheathed his sword and replied using the same Roaring Thunder skill. 9 heavy waves, go die. After finishing his Roaring Thunder skill, Lin Feng jumped into the air like a tiger and his 9 heavy waves shot out, which didn't completely stop Jing Hao's Roaring Thunder but had weakened it, and the waves continued to flow like an endless ocean. Jing Hao looked surprised as he hadn't expected Lin Feng's skills to be this powerful. Lin Feng would take advantage of every opening and use his Roaring Thunder skill. Each of Lin Feng's strikes were aimed at Jing Hao's vital points. With each shockwave which was stopped, another would follow, flooding the gorge with its shockwaves. Each time there was no other choice but for Jing Hao to step back and retreat. By the time he had neutralized all of Lin Feng's attacks, he had realized his mistake. Lin Feng was standing next to Zhang Wei. Lin Feng's long sword was pointed towards Zhang Wei's neck. When combining 9 heavy waves and Roaring Thunder, it created a powerful combination which even forced Jing Hao to step back. Even though it was only a few steps, he can still be proud of himself. Jing Hao is 6th on the disciple rankings. His strength is above average. He has even perfected his Roaring Thunder skill. I would have never thought that guy would master the Roaring Thunder technique on equal terms with brother Jing Hao and would even force him to take a step back. People in the crowd were discussing loudly. Lin Feng was only at the 8th Qi layer. Jing Hao was one of stronger disciples of the sect, and even some disciples of the 9th Qi layer wouldn't even be able to defeat him even if they fought him together. But Lin Feng was able to make Jing Hao step back and had Zhang Wei's life in his hands. Who could have imagined this turn of events? Hearing all the people commenting on the fight, Jing Hao couldn't stop himself from getting angry. He was very famous amongst the disciples of the sect. Because of Lin Feng he had lost face and been humiliated. How dare you? Go on. I dare you to kill him. I will make your life a nightmare, such a nightmare that you will want to die every day. Jing Hao was shouting at Lin Feng, who was holding his sword over Zhang Wei. Please let me go, begged Zhang Wei, who was shaking. Let you go? In your dreams. You can die like a dog here. Lin Feng's sword flashed and slit Zhang Wei's jugular. The scene was incredibly shocking. Zhang Wei lay there wide-eyed watching the scene of his own death. A constant stream of blood sprayed from the wound, rising in the air then falling into the sand. Blood mist was thick in the air and all around was dark red sand. Have courage, said members of the crowd pitying Lin Feng's fate. Jing Hao had a spine-chilling sensation watching the scene unfold in front of him. Lin Feng had surprisingly ignored what he had said, ignored the clan rules and directly killed Zhang Wei in such a brutal way. Lin Feng had completely disregarded Jing Hao's warning. No matter what, Jing Hao would never stop hunting Lin Feng, so why would he care about idle threats? You managed to humiliate me today, and even if I cannot kill you now, I will make you suffer a fate worse than death, said Jing Hao furiously. The entire crowd thought Lin Feng was very unlucky. He had made Jing Hao furious and had broken the clan rules. Even if Lin Feng didn't die, he was about to be tortured to the point of wanting death, and that would only be the beginning. Lin Feng was a skillful disciple, but against one of the top 10 disciples within the ordinary disciple rankings, nobody thought he was strong enough to resist. Jing Yun was so nervous that she could hardly breathe. Unfortunately, she was a weak cultivator and she couldn't help Lin Feng. Jing Hao could kill her in one strike from his sword. Everyone was looking at Lin Feng. Lin Feng remained silent. He turned around slowly and jumped back into the life or death arena. What is he doing? Asked people in the crowd while looking at Lin Feng, who was already back in the arena. They were all stupefied. Lin Feng arrived in the middle of the arena. He turned around and then looked at Jing Hao. In an icy cold tone, Lin Feng said, "What are you waiting for? You're next." At that moment a complete silence covered the gorge. Lin Feng had challenged the 6th-ranking disciple in the life or death arena. End of chapter 15. Hope you guys enjoy the chapter. Please consider subscribing and hit that bell button for future updates.